I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose. I talk to people in the educational arena, also city government, and also county offices as well. Eric Jackson's with us today. He's the middle school principal. Eric, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us.
Absolutely.
What about your educational background? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I am in year 22 now, I believe, in education overall. Obviously went to college, have my master's degree and some additional certifications from there. Was a teacher prior to becoming a principal. Started at CIS as an assistant, was there for 6 years, and now this is my 9th year at the middle school.
Some of those positions, do they help you form your philosophy in education?
Yeah, I would tell you just all of the experience, right? So it's not just any one of those, whether it was a diverse or non-diverse setting, teaching, whether it was an assistant principal or principal, all of those kind of blend together, I guess you could say, to form that philosophy and where we are now. Yeah.
How long have you been the principal at the middle school?
So this is my 9th year. Yeah, 9th year at the middle school. Blessed to be there. Fantastic building, incredible staff, and very supportive school community, obviously, as you know.
Yeah, what are some of the things that you've picked up in those 9 years that you employ today?
Picked up as in what? What do you mean by that?
As in basically, again, how to, again, deal with new staff members,
Sure.
how to deal with the community, those types of things.
So things that I've picked up, I would say number one, just communication, that, over communicate, make sure that you are building that trust with students, with staff, with community. And I guess more than anything, just that rapport with students, creating meaningful experiences where, again, they can trust you to come to them and deal with certain situations. That you're believable when you say you're going to do something, and I think that's important that students are able and willing to communicate with you in that regard.
How about your rapport with the assistant principal, Dave Ryder? That's really a key, in my judgment, to a building success.
Well, and you've had that experience, right? Mr. Ryder and I work kind of hand in hand on a variety of different things day to day, and if he is busier than I kind of step in to support him. Then on the flip side of that as well, he'll step in to help me when the time comes. He's been there with me now for 7 of the 9 years, and I was blessed to grab him. He was a head principal coming in, so he had so many great experiences that I didn't have to handhold, I guess you could say, that he could hit the ground running as an assistant in the building. And we are very much 2 principals together leading a very large building with needs, middle school adolescent needs, and work very well together, I think.
It sounds like you're not really concerned. You have a meeting or something that you have to be out of the building or ill or something emergency, that things will go full speed ahead.
100%. As I'm taping Bruce on the Loose, I have no concerns whatsoever. Dave does a fantastic job.
You talked about the staff a moment ago. What about the counselors? I think the counselors at the middle school really stand out. We did a show probably about 1.5 years ago with your counselor. Mrs. Beal was there, and I think she is subsequently right. Why don't you talk a little bit how the counselors make the students and staff comfortable?
Sure. So we'll start with Mrs. Beal, because she obviously has since moved on, retired. Large spot to fill. She was fantastic. But with that void, we brought in Mrs. Albanese. So Mrs. Albanese was previously at CIS. I worked with her at Central. And so now she has come into play with Mrs. Manos as well, both in that counseling realm for a number of years, excuse me, and do an absolutely fantastic job to support students, to support staff, to support parents throughout that process. So I would tell you that it's less about feeling comfortable and more about equipping those 3 entities that I just referred to with skill sets to deal with those trials and tribulations that are adolescent learning. We have a lot of parents that will say, help me through this process. I've never dealt with a 13-year-old before, or students or staff for that matter. So I think it's more about supporting those people in a variety of different ways and equipping them with strategies.
I see a building going all over Wadsworth. It doesn't matter what section of the city you go to, there's building, and that means more families and maybe new students. How do the counselors help new students coming into the building?
So yeah, when we start, it's a process. It's 100% a process. Before they even come in, obviously parents will enroll in that process. We talk to the parent about likes, dislikes, where they're at academically, and then we build a schedule. Sometimes the counselors will build a schedule. From there, we kind of have an acclimation period. They'll come to the building, they'll do a quick visit, walk around the building with the counselors. We'll even have them take some tests to assess where they're at to take the appropriate classes based upon a previous building or a previous class that they were taking, to make sure they're aligned with the coursework and academics that the rigor holds at the middle school. And then from there, walk around the building, tour the building, kind of put them at ease a little bit, I guess you could say. During that process, they'll meet myself, they'll meet Mr. Ryder, they'll meet the secretaries, the face of our building. And then when they come in the next day, they're somewhat prepared for that process. The counselors will make sure that they have a student planner, that they have a Chromebook ready to go, that the schedule's really ironed out. And then we assign a student host for the day that kind of shadows them and makes sure that they know where they're going and what they're doing, that they're not sitting alone at lunch, those types of things to help give them a kickstart in the right direction, I guess you could say, for that first day of transition into our building.
You gave me a great segue. You said secretaries.
Yeah.
My next question was support staff.
Yeah.
They sometimes are the unsung heroes, but they really do. If a bus would get in the ditch coming with a little fog or whatever, or ice or whatever, bad driver, then the kids are just wired. And I don't know if for their first period class would be the same. But and someone calls the school for information, or something. COVID hits. Custodians have to go above and beyond. Why are the support staff very significant?
The answer is it takes a village, and I know that's very cliche, but it's true. From the moment you walk in our building, you see our two secretaries. You see Mrs. Telford, you see Mrs. Freno, and they have a smile on their face. They love what they do. They love their interactions, and that's important, because if they don't, those are the first people that you're seeing. So from those first two women as you walk in the door, then it lends itself to either a positive situation or a negative one. But it takes all of that support staff to make our building what it is. The first part of May, we have Staff Appreciation Week that takes place. It's not Teacher Appreciation Week, it's Staff Appreciation, because though the teachers do a phenomenal job in the classroom, that's in the classroom. So outside of the classroom, in the cafeteria, in the hallways, in smaller settings, there are many other adults that help create an environment of learning, a successful learning. So why are they important? It's because it takes so many other people for this age to be successful. So many other supports in place outside of the academic realm for those students to learn. It's not just academic learning, but so many other things: social learning, developmental learning, emotional learning, that our support staff help as well as our teachers.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but I had 5 student teachers. I was a supervisor of student teachers at University of Akron.
I remember you coming in.
And I had 5 in 4 different disciplines.
Yeah.
And all of those students, in fact, one works here in the district. The 4 others got jobs. And I can't tell you how cooperative their cooperating teacher was and how helpful. Talk a little bit about how the staff meets the needs of this age group, that you could have a 6'2" young man and then another one like 4'10".
Yeah.
The physical and the mental differences are vast.
Yeah, that's a good word. They are vast. And you nailed it. They could be taller, skinnier, hairier, no hair, you name it, right? Probably not no hair at this point, but You're absolutely right. There is a lengthy list of differentiation that needs to occur in order to meet the needs of all students. And I would just tell you that comes with experience. We have a tremendous staff that Mr. Wright helped me with, my predecessor, and that is why the hiring process is just so important, and why we as administrators and Dr. Hill, and it just makes it so important for us to take the time, do a process, because we want the best of the best working with our students. I would tell you that with COVID and all of the changes that have transpired over the past few years, we also have seen needs increase of our students, and that has to continue to evolve and change with those students' needs. So our staff needs to continue to do that as well, whether it's in the classroom or elsewhere. So it continues to be a challenge, but one that we're up for on a daily basis.
You hit it right on the head, too. It's very important for a district to choose a person that would not only work with other teachers, but also meet the needs of the students. And Wadsworth takes a great deal of pride in that. And a few years ago when I was in the district, Chuck Parsons said that was the most important thing he would do, his chore as a superintendent, hire good people. Do you agree with that?
I agree 100%. I know Chuck. I did not work for Mr. Parsons. Unfortunately, I worked for Dr. Fortner. But that's one thing that he instilled in us on a daily basis, that it was $1 million and maybe now multi-million-dollar decision, that we have to have integrity in the hiring process because of how important that is for the many years that they're going to be employed with our district. They have to be for kids. And again, you've alluded to having experience at this level. It's a tough age, and we want to make sure that we have staff members, teachers, administrators, secretaries, everybody who are there for students of this age, and that's the appropriate placement that they want to be there and enjoy being there on a daily basis.
I hate to bring up a strange subject here, but COVID-19, it's something that you didn't train for, you had no classes in it. It was something that our nation dealt with, and I think the middle school came out, very, very positive with that. And I saw when we were getting reports, relatively few cases from the middle school.
Yeah, and maybe that's dumb luck. We don't know. I would tell you, as a district, I think we did a great job of pre-planning, of planning, of re-planning, and making sure that we reevaluated, I guess you could say, throughout the process, discussed a lot as an administrative team as to best practices and what we can do to minimize and make sure that if we had cases, they didn't spread quickly and contain that to the best of our ability. But yeah, it was definitely nothing that we planned for or trained for. But it's something that was definitely in the forefront for quite some time, and now has eased up a little bit for the most part, yeah.
Why is it important for students to be involved in activities?
I would tell you that it's very important from the standpoint of getting their mind off of just what happens at school in a classroom, that they're involved in so many other arenas that pique interests, that it's not just about going to school and learning, that it's learning other skills and other skill sets that makes them want to enjoy school and go back. So whether it's a club, whether it's a sport, whether it's a certain class, that they're active. And I think the more active and engaged they are in anything, specifically some of those extracurriculars, they're going to do better and perform stronger in all realms then.
I always thought it was very important to also get to know some adults, that they could be advocates and help them if they have difficult. Sometimes students don't talk to the parents as much, and they'll talk to a trusted adult, and that's very important as well. Absolutely.
We have situations like that all the time where parents will call in and say, well, they won't talk to me. What have you heard? And so that communication piece back and forth can sometimes be amplified, I guess you could say, strengthened, if we have those support staff, teachers, staff overall that are engaging in relationships that are strong and persistent.
Can you tell us about the Blue Ribbon Award that the school, the building won in 2019?
Yeah, so our National Blue Ribbon designation was from the U.S. Department of Education, so it was a national accreditation. It was based upon continued success, academic success, and excellence, but also that idea of closing gaps within our diverse settings, our smaller subgroups, working towards meeting the needs of students where they're at, and then again that idea of excellence and success. One that we're very proud of, and one that we continue to work on, meeting those needs on a daily basis. Fantastic process to work through. Dr. Hill and myself went to Washington, D.C. to accept the award. It was super experience, very educational in nature and knowledgeable from myself, and one that I am very, very thankful that the board and the district was supportive of.
I'm sure the teachers were very elated and just very, very pleased that their efforts were recognized. A lot of times educators think that they're kind of in a vacuum, and they don't always get the positive comments that they deserve.
I would agree. So it kind of is a testament or a validation that we're doing great things for kids each and every day. We had T-shirts made, and the typical would be a red or a white for our Wadsworth colors, but we made blue one. We made blue T-shirts for our Blue Ribbon Award, so we wear those on a pretty regular basis to school, along with other obviously school appropriate T-shirts and whatnot for school spirit. Yeah.
Other distinctions that the district stands out for, and the building at the Wadsworth Middle School?
Wow, I probably could go on and on from a district standpoint, because we have so many great buildings that are doing great things, outstanding things for students, whether it's schools to watch from a CIS or middle school standpoint. Again, middle schools in the state of Ohio who are schools to watch, doing great things for middle level education, or elementary buildings with designations or awards. I would tell you it's not unique to Wadsworth Middle School, that it's unique to Wadsworth City Schools overall, that we have a great district, a supportive district, and those distinctions and awards provide validation that we're doing great things for students.
Why would you promote a trip to Washington, D.C. when there's so many, just to go ahead and get it organized? My wife had several trips at the Elms to Washington and Colonial Williamsburg, but it's a lot of effort. It just doesn't happen overnight. And what were some of the reactions of the students once they came back? And what about this year's trip?
So when I came to Wadsworth Middle School 9 years ago, one of the first things that I talked to Dr. Hill about was, possibly doing a trip for 8th grade and possibly going to DC, and he was very supportive of that, and we've done that obviously every year since the pandemic, and we've halted that throughout the process. It definitely was a process in planning and implementing and seeing that through. It was a fantastic 3-day trip. Very supportive staff members who went, because we typically would have 7 or 8 buses of students with, anywhere from 28, 30, 32 staff members that would have to go to support the trip. But I would tell you that bigger than just that DC trip and what they would come back and the knowledge base of Gettysburg or patriotism or experiencing, Washington, D.C. was just overall experiences at this level. Where we make dinner time conversation for the different experiences that our students are engaged with within our school day each and every day. That it's not just about one specific trip, but on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, we're creating a variety of opportunities for our students to love school and to talk about school and to talk about staff members.
I had accompanied a trip with another district, and was very moved by, you talked about patriotism, the tomb of the unknown soldier. That is, if that doesn't get to your heartstrings, something's drastically wrong.
Yeah, it's when you truly learn about that whole process, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, they're going back and forth and they're guarding, that scenario. And then understanding the process and what it takes to be a tomb soldier and the prestige that comes with that. There's a pride that goes with that, and standing on hallowed ground and going to Gettysburg and experiencing and seeing some of those things. It's very moving, and I've done it a variety, a number of times over my 22 years with obviously Wadsworth and other districts as well. But just the overall experience is very impactful.
What I really enjoy is that some of those students may not ever get back to Washington, D.C.
Agreed.
Sometimes other jobs and other family, interests get in the way, and that may be the only time they go. That has to make the staff feel very good.
And again, I think that builds into those experiences that we talk about when we want to create experiences at school, whether it's Washington, D.C. or other ventures. That's what we think about. Will students experience these types of things in the future? Other schools obviously do a variety of other things, from additional field trips, 7th grade camp, different ventures that students may never experience if we don't give them some of those experiences.
I understand we couldn't go this year, and your son was caught in that decision, and you do things for so many other students, but your own son couldn't go to D.C. this year. Yeah,
he is an 8th grader with me currently. Yes, he is. We actually did a family trip over spring break. We went for a couple of days so that he would have that opportunity as well. My wife and I recognizing that it's definitely a meaningful trip for him to experience. Yeah.
Why do you use WCTV to show the community what is happening in the middle school? Why would you bother to do that? And have you got any comments from maybe grandparents or parents that sometimes our students don't talk? I'm sure your son tells you everything that's going on in his life, but really we've indicated that sometimes students talk to other adults a lot more readily than they do their parents. So why do you use WCTV?
Yeah, so we try. Joanna is wonderful about posting different things that we put out. I have a Middle Matters that I do every Monday that she puts out. The audience may have seen that on occasion, but I think it's important because outside of Wadsworth Middle School, then there's community members that can get a window into what's happening within our building, and that obviously is something that we put out to our parents. But I want outside community members to understand that we're still doing great things for our students in our overall school community. Just being in the know with what's happening, I think, is very important.
Well, also it gets people planning a schedule. If there's a play or there's something going on, again, a conference or something, they'll know and they can put that on their schedule. By the way, the new 5th and 6th grade building is kind of in the planning, and I guess they have a really nice gym they're going to add for maybe rec ball, and also a theater. I know the facility at the middle school has a kind of a limited stage. Could you see maybe plays being done at the new 5th and 6th grade, possibly?
Yeah, the renditions look absolutely fantastic. They really do. So it's just a fantastic way for our community to support our education and other experiences we've talked about as well for our school community. So yeah, absolutely, I could see us taking advantage of that. Sorry, Mr. Cobb, if that spoils some plans there. But it looks to be, again, based upon the rendering, it looks to be absolutely a fantastic facility for students. Yeah.
But that's why we're building it, for the community use. I mean, we want people to come and grandparents and parents see the productions. And again, as we talked about, it doesn't have to be athletics. I mean, there's just so many other things out there that we may, Tom Hanks is throwing out the first ball for the Guardians. He got his start in Northeast Ohio, and he's been pretty successful in the theater.
Yeah, I did not know that. I was unaware of that for tomorrow's first pitch.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with you. In the 15 years that I've been here, I've always heard AAA, that it's been athletics, arts, and academics. It's not any one of those. That we pride ourselves on being a AAA district. And, I think because of the new CIS coming, it will give additional opportunities for what you just referred to. And that's absolutely fantastic that we have a community that supports students, supports experiences, and I think it's what makes Wadsworth so special.
Maybe we can sum up the program by, I know you're a planner, anything up your sleeve you're looking at in the future to add to the success of the building?
Wow, that's putting me on the spot. Not that I'm aware of. We have a lot of great experiences coming up the last 6 weeks for students as we wrap up and put a seal of approval on our 8th graders going to the high school and our 7th graders moving up. But not that I am aware of, but in school some pretty great things, and again some great experiences for students to talk about with their parents at night.
I can't tell you enough how cooperative the teachers were, and they were such good role models for my student teachers, just tremendous.
We have a tremendous amount of teachers who want to be there for students each and every day.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We appreciate it very much and learned a lot about the middle school and your success there. And thanks for viewing Bruce on the Loose. I think we're right on the...
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.